let's just understand this tariff policy that Trump has brought into play. What is it all about?
I think earlier this year, Trump as President ka January, one of the things that he, even during campaigns before Anna President, ki slogan sa America First. Mo ile gore a re batla go ba le hatsela America First. So what he did ka go impose some of these tariffs, una libile mahase, una re gona le mahase mangwa ile gore ba ba charge di tariff me bone ba say the same level. So some other countries in ile gore o le ka go replicate se ile gore o tsa gore sa diragala go mahatseng a mangwe ha o libile ke kaya strategy sa gore in terms of the trade economics or the geopolitics ya trade, global trade, ona le ka go ba hokotsa bogale. And then amangwe largely it was just an issue ya gore figure like for instance mo Botswana, you know, gore ka January re hilwe totally different higher figure which was then revised last week jaka but it largely has to do with the interest tsa America le what they can make in terms of the goods that come in the territory ya America.
Ha re lebella di-tariff tse retso a Trump o ne a di dira a tlhaloganya ditumelano tse di hitsa tsa ba ile gore ba tlile pele ga gagwe tse neng di le teng re lebella especially Africa Growth Opportunity Agreement or Act which is AGOA.
A ke bona a di lebile thata se ke belela se dirile jaka ona wa bona ka February or thereabout o ne a release di hela ba re okay Botswana di tariff ba re charge bokae re ka ba charge bokae. China, for instance, a big competitor in America in terms of global trade. Bone rekaba hokotsa bogale jang. India, what can we do? For instance, as you know, for this past few weeks, there's a back and forth between India and America, where now America says, "Nya, ma India leskalareka, oil ka ko Russia ka gore le rotwetsa ntwa ya ko Russia." So part of the tariffs tsa India then Trump adi dira this week, the threats tsa adi dira against India this week is largely to control geopolitics in terms of who or which country should relate how with Russia.
Me ha re lebella di tariff tse they seemed blanket, but how o tla go lebella scenario a se dira ya ka o buena ka gore a balance trade. Me hela re lebella a re lebelle Botswana go ntse ga ditemane. What do we stand to gain from tariff reduction or exporting to the US?
So that bile le tsone ditemane ha re setse re bua nnete ga re di rekise directly to America. Re di rekisa to India as rough diamonds, and then India ya di polish ibo e rekisa US retailers. So matshwenyo ga rona matona kgotsa thapelo tsa rona tse di tona in the past 7 months ha ile gore ntse re rapela ha ile gore 15% yo tsile as a result of dithapelo tsa rona. I think re rapeletse for the wrong reasons, because dithapelo tsa rona ne di tshwantse gore di towards gore India le yone e bone reduction ya di tariffs ka gore ke gone go ile gore tota re rekisa a bulk ya di rough diamonds tsa rona. In terms of other goods se ile gore ra di rekisa is very small, is less than $1 million US dollar in terms of the exports tse re di isang ko America aside the demand.
Sorry to ask it this way, but why should we care about India? Why should we India? Why do we need a conduit? And won't it benefit us better now to turn and say no,
that will also talk to issue capacity building. That would say gore re bua statement so se bua se ke gore re boile gore ya no re dirile di polishing firms mo Botswana di producer at a lower cost, because remember gore why India now is preferred destination for all diamond producers across the globe ke gone gore ba dirile di firms tse dintsi tse di polishang di diamond maybe ba di polisha ka price e kotas, because bana le labor e cheap ka gore a gre ba train le batho ba bone ba le bantsi over the years. So gongwe rona re ka re cheste isa gore re India ga rena sepe ka yone ha re ka iphitlhela le gore yano le rona ra atolositse ha ne le gore 2013 or thereabout ha go dirwa the relocation ya DTCB from London to Gaborone re nile intentional about it. Re boile gore re le ba gone gore bana ba rona go ba thuta bo jewelry go di college tse di teng tse re ditse tse dingwe ebile ke tsa puso, for instance o di college ena la bana ba ba dirang di-jewelry ha ne le gone re ile intentional ka bone re bo re itse gore gongwe re dirisa our remember gore ODC as a state owned company na le a stake sa yone se istsang ko DBS go se rekisa. We can be intentional about it, for example, and say as part of growing that market or the citizen entrepreneur would then get the graduates at OD college. They would get RAF from ODC. They would play whatever way they can, do jewelry or whatever format, and then sell to not just America but to the rest of the world, really.
Okay, so after obviously arrival of the DTCB now, re bone go nna le a mushrooming of the diamond polishing companies. I level the Diamond Park, Kaha, Block 80, Block 3 Industrial, and Brothers Industrial, and so on. Dite, right? Ke temane e kanang kang e tlhokang gore re santse re lebile ko India ha ile go rarema India ba tsisitse di factory tsa bone kwano mo ga di teng ra di bona di bo 6 go mpina ka di wa di bala ke se re tlhoka gore se go India ka sona
ga di dintsi. In fact, if you look at the statistics what they call statistics on the international the merchandise monthly the monthly digest se go nela dipalo tsa ditemane tse re di isang ko America. How ka ela thoko tsone tse di policy ke tsone tse di tswang gone mo bo 680 o buang ka ene from the Diamond Park. So is so we need something that is massive. In fact, we could even create, if we want to go big, now we are at a point where we have to decide whether we still want to go with this precious stone and relieve elsewhere. But if we still want to camp money, we would have to go big and even create an entire city diamond polishing or because
you are now moving away from diamonds, being realistic. We have been trying to do this for so long in diversification until we made up a name called Kabakanyo Itulelo. We have had this to a point where that means over 20 years of saying the same thing. What can we do now? We have a benefit of 15%. The Indians are going to struggle with 25%. What should we do with the Indians? What can we negotiate with them now? A rapid skills transfer. Can that work for us?
Yeah, that in the short term can work. Okay. But remember, like I said earlier on, how do we ultimately move away from diamonds? Because
but it will take a long time.
Yes.
We can't move away because like I said, from diversification we have a name called Kabaka. That's how long it's been.
Yes. But in any case we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
One area how do we import labor cheap in that sector, diamond polishing, and then ensure skills transfer to Botswana? Because remember, all in all, whatever we are trying to do, wealth creation for Botswana, because it would serve no one any good to import that cheap labor, but also transfer the skills to Botswana. A very 15 years down the line, go hedile tsone yano be ile gore ga gona go releva teng.
And I really obviously it's our major product, but how the benefit of this, and I don't know what but has create a fronting mentality of other parties that are affected by tariffs. If we take AGOA created a lot of fronting, a lot of Chinese companies, Indian companies, and so on came to manufacture in the small countries that benefit from AGOA. These tariffs, are they going to solve any fronting problems as far as the economy is concerned?
Well, if that fronting is done strategically, and strategically here I mean where, for instance, we could have an investor, for instance, coming. One of the biggest topics that are there in Botswana, the hemp industry. Unfortunately, it appears our target is largely on the on the farming, on the value chain. And if that fronting means having an investor, as China or India or the Arab world, other partner le Botswana. Partner here, I mean, where there's stake for even Botswana.
Yeah.
Such that we could strike a deal le Lesotho and say Lesotho lona le setse le limile hempe bile ke ya tshela re that now for me that would be a desirable fronting if I was to call it that.
Okay, so now obviously beyond just the diamonds, the biggest problem that we currently face. What should we be doing? When I let this Botswana Economic Transformation Program that is supposedly set up to fast track our transformation. And we've been seeing that we want to go for it and we are happy. The tariffs are here 15% down. Can this contribute to us fast tracking our transformation plan?
Yeah, I think, but largely we have to start with capacity building.
Okay.
That we can never skip.
Capacity building in what area? Because but we have other people.
Yes, I mean capacity building can come in the sense that, for instance, SEDA as a development financial institution, part of its mandate is not just to finance, but it is also to develop citizen entrepreneurs. So they should take that serious. That unit should now start being serious.
That also goes to BDC.
Yes, scout for talent. Make sure that passion and talent is being remunerated. That is part of capacity building, because if, for instance, the president usually sometimes talks about this English breakfast thing. And if you look at it, it's a huge potential, because it says, Sabone, you can actually go to Mogodisani Primary and ask them, if this thing is going to be implemented, for your students. About 100, when I look at produce 10, you can find 9 other Botswana who produce 10 more. Lebole supply that primary school kama 100. Lele 10 in Botswana. And that needs capacity building, because so we need to be deliberate about it to change our mindset, so that we also know maybe spaces over how reach the required ceiling. You can always negotiate. Like we talk about 100. Now 10. Can you allow me to find to supply you with 10, and then you would source the remainder 90 elsewhere? That's where it starts, and then you replicate those kind of businesses across other sectors, then Hongwe would go somewhere.
Can we reverse psychology this day? Right? We are benefiting at 15% to the US. The Indians are fighting with 25%, which might go up next week. They're fighting with that. Can't we tell them, no, take our diamonds, polish them, bring them back, we'll market them out? Can that work?
Yes, it's possible. I mean, at the end of the day, these are our diamonds. At the end, in fact, now that you mentioned BDC earlier on, it's part of the business or BDC working with other institutions could actually do research on, and to say, how do we look into the sector and say, Mobazone by relaying the Botswana babo minerals lebo reki dikilo go boela ko morago kwana go bua ka beneficiaries na go ga reki dikilo no gona le go beneficiation na go bua beneficiation gona le Botswana bana ba utile mo lights ba ile gore ba tsenye mo spaces seo. They could not reach a level le gore gongwe is desired, but they could still be capacitated. How do we then ensure that they hold hand with BDC, a leader to India, carrying our rough diamonds and police them? Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even rent out the facilities if need be. But it all goes back to your R&D, because now we need to have a good team, both go intelligencing, go economic advice and the like.
All right. Baatweng, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you for watching.
Low foreign exchange reserves in Botswana compromises the stability of this exchange rate framework. So at any point in time, we should have sufficient foreign exchange reserves in order to maintain this current exchange rate framework mechanism.